Good morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. Who could complain on a day like today? It's not me. I'm not going to be the one who complains. Things are going great, although I don't like the lighting in the background here. I'm going to complain about the lighting. I hate when it gets washed out too much on bright, sunny days. There, well, a little better, huh? It's going to make it hot in here. Global warming business coming my way, but that's probably the best lighting. That's not so bad. That's not so bad. So how are folks doing in the chat? Good morning, gang. It seems Fiat is always failing. The devil will come up with a new way to lie to you. Follow hard after God or be fooled again. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try that new system that I had. The new system is coming your way. Let's see how well it works. And I've actually got to test the screen share anyway, because I got a warning before I went on today that screen sharing on, I use like a studio software called Restream, and sometimes it sends a warning like comments aren't working or something like that. I'm gonna do this. I gotta take the sound off for a second. So it'll say things like comments aren't working, and it will do so before I go live. So if ever there's a trouble with the software, it kind of tells it to you. There, pop out chat. What a great innovation this is. Can't believe I just found out about it. So they warned me before I went live that screen sharing wasn't working today, but I don't know what that means. So we're going to find out. So right now, I'm just going to see what happens when I screen share this. So it works fine, I guess, huh? There we go. Look at this. We're back in business, guys. I can do all the chats. Blessings, count, and crew. I get the chat here from YouTube, but I've got this. I can keep this up for the Rumble chat now. Excellent news. Excellent news. Good morning, gang. Seems like Fiat is always failing. The devil will come up with a new way to lie to you. Follow hard after God and don't be fooled again. By the way, happy Bitcoin Pizza Day. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin Pizza Day, indeed. French fry, thumbs up, Lee J. Good morning, gang. What's good? Lots is good. The pizza's good. I'll be having pizza at lunch when we do the Breakup Canada this afternoon. I'll be solo today. I went from a full house the last 2 weeks with Luongo around last week and with Brad around the week before, but today solo. I was thinking about canceling, but I'm definitely canceling next week. I've got a shortened week next week. I got to get out of town early. And so we're definitely not doing one on Friday next week. So I figured I'd just do a solo one today because there's so much going on in Canada. And I will be with the pizza. So I'll be making a pizza before I go live. So we'll celebrate Pizza Day together today at 1 o'clock. I'll eat the pizza live. You can hear me chew. We'll do better TV than that, though. It won't be that boring. Chef Zero says, after this I beheld, lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations, kindreds, and people, and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robe. Revelations 7:9. Thank you for that, Chef Zero. I guess I know what I need to buy for dinner tonight. Dinner and lunch and everything. You got to do it. And if you want the Satoshi special, of course, if you don't know what the Satoshi special pizza is, of all the things Satoshi blessed us with his knowledge, and he didn't go out of he didn't play outside of the lines very often, in that most of the things that Satoshi talked about had to do with Bitcoin, of course, in the Bitcoin chat. But he did give us a pizza recipe once. And so if you want to make the Satoshi pizza, of course, it is jalapenos, pineapple, and some kind of a hammy bacon business. So it is a great pizza. I usually make it. I have the pineapple, but unfortunately I ate the last of my jalapenos yesterday, so I'm not sure I'm going to get to the jalapenos today. But if you want to make a Satoshi special and go extra far here on Bitcoin Pizza Day, go for it with the jalapenos, pineapple, and some kind of ham. So there you go. Blessings, fellow Bampians. Seaburger 17. Good morning. God bless all soldiers who gave the ultimate sacrifice for all Americans. Indeed, I will be headed quickly to the United States this weekend, and I shall bring my children to the cemetery. We don't have any ancestors that I know of anyway that fought in any of the American wars, but we'll go have a look and show my kids what goes on Memorial Day. Important stuff. One of my favorite holidays, by the way, Memorial Day. I'm a big fan. Billiam Gates, indeed. Morning, all morning. Charlosky, hope you're doing well. CB Van, morning, fine folks. Last day of elementary school for my little one. Gonna be in junior high next year. Congratulations, CB Van. Wonderful news. You guys finish early elementary school. Wow, that's a real summer you guys get. I don't think I finished elementary school till about a month from now. I usually finished elementary school in the third week of June, if I recall. I mean, it got the last 3 weeks, whatever, all of June was pretty stupid, and we didn't do anything but play outside and have popsicles and have a good time. But indeed, it is still early. I wish I got off that early when I was in elementary school. So have a fun day. Do you know, I remember almost every one of my last days of school that I had over the years. I still remember the feeling, and I still remember the excitement of it being the last day of school before summer holidays. What a feeling that was. Huh? I ended up getting a disgusting scar once. I slipped playing water pistols, and I got such a big scrape on my arm. But it being summer, you know, you put a Band-Aid on it, and then you're basically on a bender of childhood for the next 2 or 3 days. And I was on my normal summertime bender. I don't know what I was doing, going playing at the arcade, movies, beach, everything, biking around everywhere. And then a couple days later, I pulled off the Band-Aid, having forgotten about the injury, and it was so infected and disgusting and gross that a little scrape ended up turning into a scar because of how poorly I treated it. So there you go. Don't go on a kid summertime bender of Coca-Cola and candy and playing and psycho behavior. That's not fun. I mean, it's not a bad scar, but it tans weird. It still tans weird to this day. It's a little part of my arm on my elbow. There you go. Oh, enjoy the times and their young versions of themselves. Great memories for me as well, indeed. Good morning, Nolan and Great Awakening crew. Happy Bitcoin Friday. It is Friday. She's my dream come true, JJ. What I was put on earth to do, that is beautiful, CB Van. You know, we don't know each other, CB Van, other than through the chat. But through the chat, I get a sense indeed of what you're saying, that you are a fantastic father and you have a very special connection with your child. And just reading through the chat, that's what I perceive. So I hope you guys have a great day. And I hope she gets some kind of a reward for her time. And I'm sure she will. And I'm sure she'll be grateful to her proud dad. I wholeheartedly agree indeed. Are we live? We're live, pioneering freedom. We're live. Yo, Chatelet, Escape the Matrix. Chatelet, wow. Got a little zing to it, huh? It sure does, Chef. It sure does. Song link, indeed. There you go, Chatelet. Hasn't started yet. Separation, setback, or politicking? What's your read count? Politicking, Lee J. We'll be talking about that later. Not a setback at all. That's the same. We always use that same scam question in Quebec, by the way. We never really did a straight up, do you want to separate from Canada? Yes or no. Every one of our referendums was, do you want to renegotiate with Canada? And that's all that separation question is. So either way, the Clarity Act doesn't really give you unilateral separation rights. All of Clarity Act ever did was show the parameters in which you could begin a negotiation with Canada, and that there was some theoretical possibility of separation at the end of the tunnel. But I don't believe it's a setback at all. What the way it was always going to happen is that you were going to go into negotiations, and then depending on how the negotiations go, you're either going to get what you want, which is no more money to Quebec, and or you get screwed. So either way, it's going to inflame separation in Alberta. And by the way, if you don't give us the money anymore, we're not hanging out with you anymore. Okay, we're done. You got to pay us off to sit next to these stupid Ontarians and these ridiculous Maritimers. Like, if you're not bribing Quebec, peace. We're heritage American population. We don't need anything to do with Canada. and all these people you brought in. We don't need any of it. So we're out of here. And the only thing keeping us in Canada and Quebec is the 14 billion. And if you're not giving us the trash tokens, you're going to have to figure it out on your own anyway. So that's fine. I think we'll all be great. I think it'll all be fine. So my account, we'll talk about it this afternoon. Lee J at 1. I don't want to I don't want to, get all my excitement about what's going on, but I'm excited about what Danielle Smith did yesterday. No problems with the changing of the question and the reframing, and not a setback. It's exactly the question we ran in Quebec twice. Do you want to renegotiate? Yes or no? And it's sort of a proxy for, do you want to separate, in a sense? So there you go. Should be fun. What do we got here? Who's loving his life? Who's not complaining? Who hates kites? Who hates weed eaters? We hate them all. Sure sounds like complaints. You're looking good. We like complaining a little bit. It's a video of Keck singing Chatelet. We'll learn something new every day because people live and learn. Some people just live. Q NPC lifestyle. JJ Fox says, has the day finally arrived where the Rumble comments appear? It has arrived. Sweet. Yay. Double chats. Hope springs eternal. Thanks for the Chatelet video. It's very catchy. We're big time now, guys. There you go. We'll be with the pizza. You already got the pizza. Way to go, my man. We got to get the pizza. We got to get the pizza. We need it. Come to the conclusion, count will never be on time, whatever that means. Early is, early does, or something like that. Well, I will be on time if it was just me and there wasn't a production studio behind. I would be on time almost every day. But there's I guess you could say, a protocol before I go live. I got to share the lower thirds, because if you're watching on the Roxham channels, then we've got these lower thirds that are appearing below, and I've got to send those before so that they know what I'm talking about. And I've got a few things. I've got to send a tweet out. So if I didn't do those things, it would be really easy to start on time. And so some days I'm definitely late. But the number of steps I have to do before I go live is a lot. So that's the issue. And I've got a whole checklist that I do before I go live. And if you get one thing wrong, it won't work. So there's sometimes I'm late because something went wrong and I don't understand what it is. But, I've got to load up the Rumble. I got to load up the YouTube. Then I've got to load it on Restream. And then... and that's all after I've already got the pages up. It takes me about from 8 a.m. Eastern to 9 a.m. Eastern. I'm not producing the content of the show. I'm bringing up pages and ordering them, and then I go and then I make the coffee and all that stuff. So there's a bunch of steps, and if I don't get it started at 8, probably going to be late. And so I know I start to get, if only we could see all the tech rants that happen offline. Now, I'll tell you again, JJ Fox, the tech rants are partly entertainment. I never lose my cool like that in almost any circumstance. I'm trying to be entertaining because it's so boring. If you're watching a show and, there you go. If you're watching a show and it's boring because I'm sitting there looking at tech stuff, it's not good TV. So I try to spice it up and perform a little, right? We like performing. Yeah, we finished school in mid-June in New Jersey. Yeah, exactly. Play what works well. Thanks, Lee J. Did anyone else do the track and field events on the last day of elementary school each year? No, we did not. We did track we had a track day, which was to make the track team in elementary school. So we did one day where we did track and field events. By the way, in Barbados, they do track and field events like every month. It's crazy. Every time I go there, there's another track and field event. It's wild. The parents do it too and everything. And in my school, we did one track day, and it would have been in like sort of late spring. It was to make the track team. And then we had track team practice, which would be an after school thing. And we ran the relays and all that stuff. And we did our events and practice. And then we had one weekend a day just before the end, sometime in early June, where we all went to the local high school, and all the elementary schools competed against each other in track and field for ribbons and medals. And that would be the end of sports for the year, though. That was the end. In high school, we had a 2-day track and field meet, not far where the race car track is for the F1. Actually, we were right across the river, and we could see all the same infrastructure. You see, the F1 race will be here this weekend in Montreal. And so we would be there for 2 days, and that had a podium and everything. And that was to qualify for provincial championships after. And it was a 2-day event. And we had a few other track meets leading up to that in the high school years. We had just a field event as well, and then just a track event. They were separate. And but we never did it on the last day like you, but that sounds like fun. Our last day, we did an awards ceremony in elementary school, usually outside if the weather was good. And every class had all, the art award, the math award, the reading and the writing. And we did all these awards. We did sports awards. And then when the awards show was over, there's parents there and everything, obviously. When the awards show was over, it was just a free-for-all play with maximum popsicles and freezies. I don't know if you guys have freezies, but that's what we did. Happy Friday, Memorial Day weekend, indeed. Good job, Summer. I stubbed my big toe. I have a big purple toe today. So there's a silver lining of pain. Well, at least you didn't break it like our dearest Seaburger 17, who hurt her toe and didn't make it to Vegas a few weeks ago. So there you go. Luongo and Hank's show would be Top Keck. Yeah, there you go. Willie the pizza. Where am I? Will you have a show on Memorial Day? I will not, Jack 2K. I will not be around on Monday, everybody. I will be gone Monday. I'll reiterate that with you all, but no show Monday. No show Monday. I have the school pizza recipe. I've seen that. You should try it. Look up online. Just like I've seen that. I've seen the guy who makes that. Yeah, the whole school pizza book for because my school had the same. It was the square pizzas, and we must have had the same recipe book as everybody in the 80s. But yeah, I've seen that guy too. There's a few ways to find that recipe, but there's a fella who does, I think, Cooking from History or something. It's a show I regularly watch, but I've also got that recipe. It's a fun one. Where am I? Châtelet, Memorial Day, big toe, barefooted and running on pavement. There you go. As a child, I ran barefoot. I don't run barefooted anymore. I tried the barefoot thing craze when it came out in running. Before I figured out that diet had so much to do with plantar fasciitis, and before I learned about seed oils and everything, I tried the early barefoot running conversion because I was struggling with my foot health, and it's a disaster. I had popped something in my leg. It was a disaster, so I quit that. I won't do that again. Dumb idea. Ed Gallerin Q and MAGA will save the USA. Vote Ed Gallerin in 2028, says BBC Plebinator. There you go. Well, if we have presidential elections in 2028, I'm fine with no more elections. But some people, they like to vote. Gotta vote. Absolutely did the relay race, and they still do. Daughters got second place because Susie is the fastest girl in the school. She was robbed. There you go. Late, but worth the wait. If only we can go on tech rants that happen offline. There we go. Chicagoland. We did that in our elementary school when I was a child. There was a pretty good tech rant acting back in the day. Yeah. There you go. Speaking of field, I'm on our field with my nutty grandpup. Cute, cute, cute. We used to sing No More Days of the State Penitentiary in the last days in the bus. We count each day for the last 10 days. Fun times. Yeah, we did the no more pencils, no more books for sure. I was so upset to miss Vegas. Broken heel. Pardon me. Yeah. There you go. Okay, so we got all that stuff. Feeling for me. I grew up a fat kid who always insists on entering the sprinting events. Fun. No, I was a fast runner, so I usually was going to win. We like to win. Uh, really don't like to know that the tech pants are tech rants are part performance. They're real, but it's not so much performance as I don't want to bore you by looking at buttons and all that stuff. So it's real. Like, I'm angry. I get mad at this stuff, but I usually can control just how angry I get. So the anger is real. I just let it out, and that's, I guess, the performance. It's not fake. I'm not hamming it up. I'm just leaning into it. I'm just leaning into it. All right, so we're gonna take the chat down. That was fun. I'm glad we got it back. I missed you all in the live chat where we can do it that way, but there you go. Okay, everyone, does it still come in live? Yeah, I guess so. Okay, perfect. There you go. Perfect. Perfect. I'm going to take it down for now. So indeed, that is a sunrise behind us. We're doing great with the sun. Bitcoin running 77,000 US trash tokens a Bitcoin. Pretty good. Let's have a coffee and talk about what's new. Let's hear how the NPCs are doing first. It's not going great. They're really upset about Stephen Colbert show ending. The end of the Stephen Colbert show leads off our NPC news for the day. Oh, now it's doing this shit again where nothing's in the right order. Oh, absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Don't understand it. Let's see if we get 6 in a row again today of videos. The last episode of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert airs Thursday. While its cancellation carries the stench of suspected political interference for many fans, its conclusion also comes at a moment of change for the classic television format. The stench of suspected. These are the earmarks of Russian influence, the stench of suspected political interference for fans. I love all the qualifiers. This is not something I expected to see here on the Washington Post. We got a whole bunch from the Washington Post right off the bat. So the Washington Post taking issue here with JD Vance saying that Americans built the space program. So here, Vice President J.D. Vance illustrated the point when he recently described the U.S. space program as built by American citizens, rejecting any need to import a foreign class of servants and professors. But you idiot, didn't you forget all them Nazis we brought in? What an idiot. Look at him. He thinks Americans can do stuff for themselves and they don't need to import foreigners. Duh. They imported a bunch of Nazis. You don't expect to see the Nazi support here in the Washington Post, but people said they were making a turn, and here they are saying, obviously, immigration worked once when we got the Nazi rocket scientists. Here they are. They love paperclip. That erases not just Werner von Braun, who led the Saturn V program, and the Nazis, but the entire Operation Paperclip cohort. Duh. Boom, you loser, JD Vance. America has had foreigners. Don't forget the Nazis. Idiot. Stupid. What's your problem, JD Vance? Going on about American citizens doing shit. Did you not forget? You can't do nothing without Nazis. And remember, this is their argument for shithole immigration countries, right? It's a shithole over there. So there you go. We get this, they got the paperclip people, right? That helped with rocketry, right? But Trump's not just, and that helped with military readiness, right? Because they got better rockets from the Werner von Braun. They can hit anywhere in the world with them rockets. So that's, that's probably good for military readiness, but Trump also screwing military readiness, because look at this. Trump's offshore oil drilling plan threatens military readiness. Guys, they got people on the oil platforms. We can't possibly fight a war when the military has to do what with the platforms? Nobody knows. But still, the offshore drilling plan here is threatening America's military readiness, according to the Washington Post. Washington Post with another update. The UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change seems poised to retire its most extreme future emissions scenario, commonly known as RCP 8.5, after scientists found that those projections have become implausible. They're implausible. Meanwhile, Trump's out there, right? Trump's out there. He's got his paperclip immigrants and he's destroying the military by oil rigs, I guess. They're not ready for anything, right? And he's ignoring all of these climate change stories, right? He's doing all that stuff. It's not cool, right? He's up to no good. But you wouldn't believe how, where is that story? But you wouldn't believe, no, everything's out of order. Stop it. Stop going out of order. Why are you going out of order? Come back. Come back, order. Don't do it. There we go. That's fun. So that's what they said about the climate projections. But, you know, even though it's not catastrophic, there's still room to condemn the males who are actually causing this. Here we find out male behaviors, disproportionate drivers of climate change, new research suggests. The men are disproportionately responsible for the climate change that's no big deal. So, but still, we have to take the opportunity because there's a link between climate change denial and misogyny, actually, guys. Men also tend to be more involved in owning and managing companies in carbon-based and high environmental impact industries, such as large-scale agriculture, automation, so they're farmers, builders, and emerging AI technologies. The studies suggest that men tend to have less concern with climate change and are less willing to change daily habits to reduce it, and that they are less active in environmental politics, not doing anything, and less supportive of political parties that work for environmental justice. Stupid men. All you do is feed people and build things to make our life better. Come on, you should be out there nagging. The paper emphasizes the damaging behaviors are primarily seen in wealthy men, in the global north, as opposed to low-income men in the global south who are wicked cool because they're not out there farming, right? They're fine. Don't farm, right? You don't need to farm. Let your people die. At least you're not contributing to this stuff, right? Much better. And often displayed by men who have conservative views of gender roles and masculinity. Gross. It draws a connection between climate change denial and misogyny. Of course it does. The paper also acknowledges that some men are working urgently and energetically to change climate damaging tendencies. Thank God for them. Thank God for them, right? So major problems with these stupid men. But luckily, some of their behaviors are, you know, they eat the steak and the farts. We know all that trouble. Oh, that was not even close to centered. Didn't notice that. But now it turns out there's a new culprit, guys. This sucks. Rice feeds billions of people, but its role in fueling climate change is growing. So, guys, let's take note. You can't eat the almonds, bad. You can't eat the steak, bad. Now you also can't eat the rice, bad, because of climate change. What you can eat, I think those dirt cookies from Haiti are, they check out. The dirt cookies the Haitians eat, those things check out. Oh, I got this. Thank God we got this. I know the other day I gave you an update on the critical question and the strategy that you need when you arrive at the complex interface of the thermostat. You know, we luckily have these stories about every week where We get the experts to help us set our thermostat because it's really hard. You get there and it's like there's all these numbers. You can choose like anywhere between like 30 and 100 different numbers, right? Because it's like you can set your thermostat from like 30 to 100. And that's a lot of numbers between 30 and 100. So every time I go there, I was like, what was that number again? What am I supposed to do? What am I doing here? And then luckily we have AI now, even though it's causing global warming in instances like this, I say it's okay because you could actually prevent global warming if you get the number right. So then you go in and you type in what was the answer again? And then it'll say, bam, 78. 78 is the number. But I didn't know there's another factor. And thank God we have these stories now too, because it's actually, we need these things to now be broken down by geography. And luckily there are a lot of Wisconsin people that watch the show every day. And we have one just for you now, guys. The X have come just for you in Wisconsin because it isn't enough to choose the right number. We have to actually tie the number to the physical location where the house is located, right? We got to know. So how cool would you set your AC during Wisconsin summers? Okay, that's not the same as a summer in New York. It's a different state, obviously, idiots. Okay, so all of you people in Wisconsin, all right, this is for you. If you're from another state, I'm allowing you to listen, right? But don't use your privilege of being from another state to think this applies to you, right? That's like a Eurocentric thing, okay? This is not your state. This is the experts, and they spent their time and their energy, and they put their intellectual, their cognition towards Wisconsin. So you're free to listen if you're not from Wisconsin, but don't think this is going to help you, okay? This is for Wisconsinites. And here we hear from Wisconsin. There's a lot of numbers here. Hold on. Okay, we're going to break it down because this is complicated. This is not easy. You come to the thermostat, like I said, and you've got 70 numbers. There's other numbers involved. If you're among the 92% of Wisconsin residents who have air conditioning, so a lot of them have it in Wisconsin. I bet that means the Wisconsinites in the show, most of you probably have this. So this really does apply to you. Wisconsin is in the lower end of air conditioning expenditures. Whew, thank God. Thank God. Okay, so things are going good so far in Wisconsin. There's a lot of men there still. That's a problem with their misogyny, but, that's okay. Should there be different temperatures for men and women because of the misogyny? I think so. I think men should it should be higher for them, right? I think that would be more appropriate to make up for all of their misogyny that causes global warming. Still, there are plenty of ways. Oh, shit. There are plenty of ways to make air conditioning use more. Okay, that's actually good. Okay, it's a lot more to learn about how to manage the temperatures in your house. But the good news is we can solve this in a number of ways. Okay, I thought it meant there's plenty of ways to make air conditioning cost you more. No. Okay, thank God. So here are some of the best ways to use your air conditioner. Okay. I know. I look at it, I got central air here, and I look at it some days and I'm like, I know I set the temperature, but how do I use this thing? Like, besides keeping the house cold, sometimes I rest like a coffee cup on it, sometimes on the air conditioner, I'll do that. If you have one of those ones that goes in your window, there's also plenty of things you can put a pot on it, flowers. I'm not sure if they're going to get to that. I don't know if these are those kinds of experts. What temperature? Okay, we're at the important. This is the important part. What temperature should I set my AC to during summer in Wisconsin? When you're at home, the ideal temperature is up to each individual. Oh shit. No. Okay, thank God we're back in comfortable territory here. In general, closer you set your thermostat to the temperature outside, the less energy is required by your air conditioner to cool your home. Remember that, everyone. Remember that, okay? There's an equilibrium here, okay? This is like Newtonian physics must be applied when you're contemplating the temperature at which you set your air conditioner, your thermostat in your home. I tell you all the time, this is complicated stuff, right? That's why you need all these experts. We're talking about thermostatic control here, thermodynamics, right? But if you're not at home, oh, fuck, I'm not at home. What am I going to do now? That's when you should be more energy conscious. Okay, so it's when you're leaving. Okay, it's what you leave it at. Okay. The Department of Energy recommends turning your temperature up by 7 degrees from your comfort level before leaving the house. Settings between 75 and 78 are typically the sweet spot. Remember that, guys. The experts have weighed in again this week. It's typically the sweet spot. Thank God. Thank God. Messing around with a thermostat isn't the only way to save on energy bills this summer. Here are some tips, guys. Here are some tips. Ready for the tips? Don't place lamps or electronics near thermostats. Okay, that's not a good idea. Don't set thermostats colder than desired, guys. Punching in a lower temperature will not cool a unit any faster, but use more energy to hit the input figure. Keep air intake vents clear, right? Window coverings and treatments, seal cracks. If you use fans, turn them off when you're not in the room. Fans cool people, not rooms. Okay. So there's all the tips, guys. So remember, right? Remember, 75 to 78 in Wisconsin too. If you're from another state, I wouldn't jump to conclusions and think this applies to you. Illinois people, I know you got Jet 2K in Chicago. You're okay. You're okay. You can use this. Okay. The Chicagoans, you can use this. I say, I'm going to go out on a limb, right? But if you're from India, don't bother. Scorching heat drives India's power demand to a record 270 gigawatt outages. They did not read the articles about the air conditioners, and the rules in India are not the same as Wisconsin. The biggest surprise here, of course, that there's scorching heat in India. I would have never believed it, but it's true. It's true. India is hot right now. It's hot. So that's our weather report for the day, guys. It's hot in India. At least you know what to set your temperatures at. Excellent stuff. I got some Trump news, a little bit of Trump news. We got some Trump news before we keep going. This is a good one. Trump officials tried to ban half of U.S. voting machines, citing conspiracy theories. The president's election security czar asked whether the Commerce Department should declare the components in the machines as national security risks. Conspiracy theories. Trump's at the conspiracy theories again. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Oh, and it is Pizza Day, as we remember, right? It is Pizza Day. So 16 years ago, we're going to talk about Pizza Day in a second. But it is also this week, not today, but this week, the 6-year anniversary of St. George Floyd. And St. George Floyd here, right, getting celebrated by Sonny Hostins. And here Sonny says, you know, the things in the riots in 2020, it's not that bad. It's very limited. It's mostly peaceful, right? Mostly peaceful. They say there was just a billion U.S. trash tokens of riot damages, estimated to be the most expensive in insurance history. It resulted in up to 2 billion U.S. trash tokens to damages in 20 cities across the U.S., mostly concentrated in L.A., Detroit, Miami, D.C., and New York. It's fine. No big deal, right? Here she is. It's fine.
I just think we need to make it clear that there can be no comparison between the Black Lives Matter movement and what we saw on January 6th.
No.
I just want to make that clear.
And that's not the suggestion.
It's not the
I
same.
know we're outraged on one.
I know that wasn't your suggestion, but you know, people that watch our show take away different things. So I just want to make that part clear. There were very limited destruction of property and violence during the uprising, the Black Lives Matter uprisings, and no threats to the president.
No threats to the president.
No, it was fine. The president could have gone out there and parted with them. It would have been fine. He could have been out there too. It would have been fine. It would have been fine. It was no big deal. No big deal. Totally this is a little fiery but peaceful. Fiery but peaceful. It's no big deal. It's fine. It's fine. I'm totally over it. It's fine. I don't mind being threatened and having to run out of New York City because my whole neighborhood's been burnt down. No big deal. Hardly an inconvenience. It was fun, actually. I wish I could go back. was the best. It was the best. Speaking of going back and the best, I bet you Laszlo wish he could go back, but the pizzas might have been good. 16 years ago today, Laszlo paid 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. Today, that Bitcoin would be worth roughly 775 million US trash tokens. But there you go. Here's the famous, I'll pay 10,000 Bitcoins, May 18th, 2010, for a couple of pizzas, like maybe 2 large ones, so I have some leftover for the next day. I like having leftover pizza. He even got leftovers for the 10,000 Bitcoins. But of course, we love Laszlo, and it was one of the greatest moments in the history of Bitcoin, of course. Those are some Papa John's. Papa John being the official pizza of Bitcoin Pizza Day from those years ago. There it is, Laszlo and the famous Bitcoin pizza transaction that started it all. Here you've got, this is pretty fun, Gate US, right? Gate US is having a good time. So Gate is celebrating Pizza Day, Gate Pizza Day. Happy Bitcoin Pizza Day. On this day in crypto history, a simple pizza purchase, right there it is. So Gate, they're doing some kind of a game. You can win some stuff. I was looking for who had games for you to win. One of them had just ended. A lot of people giving away Bitcoin today. I thought this was one of the games that I had found. I was hoping to point you guys to some games. Anyway, it's the first real world Bitcoin transaction, remains a milestone worth recognizing. So there you go. We've got Gate US talking about Bitcoin Pizza Day. That's Bitcoin Pizza from Gate, Pizza, Gates US Pizza. Having fun. So let's talk about what that means. Let me have one more sip of coffee. That's our NPC news update, but we're talking about the Pizza Day now and Gate on the same day. Why not? So as we celebrate Bitcoin Pizza Day with Gate, I do want to underline the, again, importance of predictions. One of the reasons for which I do this show, and one of the original impetuses for me to start doing a daily show, was to have a catalog of public predictions, to have a place where I could make public predictions and see if I'm right, because you don't know if you're right. You just say something happens and you said, oh, I thought that before, or whatever. But saying it publicly, to me anyway, is an important factor in determining your own worldview. As you know, I've said many times that being able to accurately predict things is a sign that because your worldview is predictive, because you're capable of predicting, that in general, a correct prediction means that the worldview you had when you made the prediction was more or less accurate, that you understood the incentives, you understood the environment, you understood the consequences, the psychology, the decision-making that was going to go into it. So one of the reasons, again, I do this show is to make public predictions. And one of the predictions I've been telling you for the past few months was that we would be entering the season of accountability, and that we would be returning to all of this Pizzagate stuff. We'd be returning to Epstein files once the Iran war was over, and once we saw the Federal Reserve subordinated, and once we saw all this internationalism and everything that Trump's been on internationally wrapped up, that we'd be moving more into the Epstein files again, and that they were definitely not being suppressed before the Iran war, and that the point was removing all of these obstacles to focus on the Epstein files over the summer, when they would be appropriately leveraged for maximum change and maximum difference. So my prediction here, this was shared with me from Sam Buxton, a viewer, a regular viewer here of the show, who is reiterating that my prediction is looking more and more like it is coming true. And so yesterday on the Alex Jones show, he had Patrick Byrne. If you know Patrick Byrne, he's a longtime Bitcoiner. I knew him where I almost got swept up in all of his intrigue against Trump back in 2016. He personally invited me to his sting operation on Donald Trump the night he won his victory in over Ted Cruz in the Texas primary in 2016. So that would have been 10 years ago this month, 10 years ago at the beginning of the month. He was one of our big sponsors at Consensus that year. Consensus happened to be May 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or something like that of 2016. And we were launching the idea of ICOs were starting. It was a fun time in the world of crypto and Bitcoin. And so he was creating a public market for kind of like a issuance platform, T0 it was called. And so he was a big sponsor of ours, and he had sponsored a cocktail private party at the end of the event. And it was in somewhere in Midtown. And so he was there, and he said, why don't you come around? You're a Trump guy. Why don't you come around and party with Trump? He's doing his victory party. And I said, I'm out of politics. I'm just doing Bitcoin now. You go have fun. And it turned out he was there to get Trump under some kind of blackmail or something. Didn't work out. The sting fell apart, and he's still repenting, apparently. But here is Patrick Byrne yesterday telling you what I've been telling you for the past few months. The rest, he says this yesterday in the Alex Jones show, the rest of the Epstein documents / tapes to be released before 2026 midterms. Sources tell former Deep State insider Patrick Byrne, when the rest of the Epstein files stuff comes out, it's going to be a big stake through the heart of the Democrat Party. It's going to be the bad stuff. What he's saying is going on here. Well, I guess he goes into the wider interview. More Epstein files to be released before midterms. And indeed, I think you're going to see the 9/11 stuff there. I think you are going to see exactly what happened with London, Israel, Saudi, why 9/11 happened the way it happened, and with America, of course, and with America. So summer reading, like I said, coming your way. It's going to be wildly entertaining and hard for a lot of people to hear who aren't prepped for this. But indeed, I do believe that the season of accountability is teed up, and that the system is about to deliver the true stories about Pizzagate and everything, right? So you can see it's starting to come up again more and more. Menu for the pizza place, Epstein files directly confirm Pizzagate. This is a funny story. There's Sam Hyde. This is from a few weeks ago when the Epstein files were first released. And just so you know that this stuff is continuously being drip dropped to the public, as we can all see at this point, I think. Here's someone mentioning this Sam Hyde website. I will show you what's going on. And she makes a few interesting conclusions here that I will share with you. So this is all for Pizza Day, of course, right? We like to celebrate Pizza Day, and Pizza Day, of course, related to this subject indeed.
Y'all, I think I might have found something big. This here says, Mr. Epstein would like to see the menu from the pizza place. Could someone send it, please? And then they send this link, which takes you here. Gross. Mama mia.
Grape soda. Crazy. But the Sam Hyde picture should right away tell you something is up that could be funny here. And not that you want to make light and humor out of this absolutely horrific story that looks closer to true than ever. But here she's going to describe what she thinks this new website means. And I think she gives the scenarios of why it could be. And there aren't that many.
Mia, this has gotten too spicy. Contact our head chef for special orders. So I went to see, when was this page registered? And it says 2/1/26, a week ago. So I went to the Wayback Machine, and there's a bunch of changes in 2019, and then it abruptly stops. And then there's changes February 2026. Who is making changes? So there's only a few possibilities, right? And I'm not tech savvy enough to go and figure this out. But the government is putting up what they want us to see. Somebody saw this in the files and went and bought the domain and changed it, which is totally possible. Or someone...
So, I mean, she's saying they want to hide it.
Who is needing to not be found out has changed it. Those are the only three I could think of. If you're tech savvy, please look.
So it's one of those two scenarios. Is it someone trying to hide? Do you put up a Sam Hyde picture if you're trying to hide? I don't think so. I think you put a Sam Hyde picture. I don't think it's for hiding. Different kind of hide. So indeed, it looks like we are moving into this season of accountability. And again, I predicted this season of accountability would happen after all of these moves in Iran. And that's the reason why I said it would go down this way. Because the other side of it, like, why do things go in this order? Well, right, there's all kinds of reasons. I don't know exactly why this order is the preferred order, but there is a consequential order for all of this stuff. And it's why you have to make these predictions, because the consequential nature of what's going on here, the step-by-step process, reveals, I think anyway, a lot of the narrative that we're creating. And so again, why I make these predictions, one of the other predictions that I've been making regularly outside of this Epstein Files conversation, the Epstein Files and the Pizzagate stuff is important, but because it's so destabilizing, because it's so hard for people to get their minds around that we are actually governed by criminals, I mean actual criminals, these sick people, it's very difficult for people to get their minds around this, because that's not the worldview you had. So simultaneous to destroying the old system, you have to rebuild a new system that people can latch onto. Because if there's no track laid down for the new system, the society will crumble because of the Epstein Files. It's that destabilizing. It's that horrific. It's so hard to even look at. It's so hard to contemplate. It's so hard to rationalize. And as a result, when people ask me, for example, and it happens all the time, what are there'll be a certain point, like if I'm, because I'm basically the person who does the show 24/7 all the time. I'm always this way, right? I'm always talking about this stuff. I'm not really different in private or in conversation with people. I say the same things as I say on this show. I've tried to make this show as close to being together personally as I can. And so when people chat with me and say we've chatted for hours, it's the first time they met me. At a certain point, they just give up and say, okay, maybe you're right about everything. What do I do next? Right? What do I do? And so, I'll always say the same thing. Well, the future, right, is, money is a part of it. That's easy. We all know what that answer is. It's Bitcoin, right? So they'll always inevitably ask, what do I do? How do I make money off this change, right? How do I make money about all these changes? Bitcoin is the easy way. But then they ask me what I should worry about, right? What should I worry about with this change? If it's that simple, if it's just Bitcoin and everything's changing, well, what's my risk? What do I have to look at? And I'll say to them, well, the biggest risk is that a lot of people are going to kill themselves, because they can't look at what's going on. They can't actually contemplate, and their mind can't actually get around the unbelievable nature of our current circumstances, the society we've created, the horrific crimes that society has produced, the operating system in which we function, will lead people to not be able to accept reality, because it's so dark and so difficult. So they'll continue to say, oh, Trump's a fascist, and they'll just light themselves on fire and never turn their attention. So I always tell people that what you're seeing in Canada, for example, with all of the assisted suicide, that's pretty much the worst of what we're going to experience going through. And it's bad, because we're all going to lose people we know. We're going to have to deal with the nihilism. We're going to have to deal with the intense pessimism that is created. And you're already seeing it, right? You're seeing it on both political fronts. There's all these pessimists inside of the Republican Party now. All of these pessimists, oh, Israel, the world is run by these people. And you're already seeing the effects of it, right? There's no hope. Trump can't even fight them. What's going on? So there's plenty of nihilism to go around. And so one of the things that I've been saying is, in order to create a positive golden age outlook, you need that narrative to be running, and it has to be clear to people, because that will save a lot of lives. Understanding that there is hope, there is redemption, there is a path that will lead to being able to recover a lot of these lost souls and a lot of these people who are having so much trouble. So one of the things I've been thinking about, one of the predictions I've made on the show so regularly is these new cities, because all of these people, all these sludge people in New York City and Chicago, hard to say what we're going to do with all of them, because a lot of these people are not going to, it's not going to click, right? They're going to keep doubling down on their cognitive dissonance. They're going to keep doubling down on nihilism. They're going to keep up with the fascist this and the fascist, because there's no way for their brains to compute what's actually happening. And so when I see the prediction that I've been making for a really long time, which is we'll get these new cities for the optimistic people, kind of like Bitcoin citadels, that start arising and emerging, because there's a type of separation going on right now between the sludge people and the optimistic people. And so the SpaceX S1 filing had a lot of interesting things about what this breakaway civilization sovereignty stack ends up looking like. And the first one that I want to share with you here is this realization of something I've talked about a lot, which is one of Trump's plans that he's been pushing all of these groups towards, SpaceX included. And it's one of the ones inside of, hold on, where is this? There it is. Nope, not it. I do not understand how this stuff all got out of order. I just can't get it. Like, why is it happening this way? So here, template setting 101. Here we are. SpaceX pledges to cover all power grid infrastructure upgrade costs associated with its data centers, so those costs are not passed on to local households per its S1 filing. This is the beginning of these citadels. Now, SpaceX already has its own town, has its own Freedom City charter in Texas, but this here is the little beginning of these pearls that we're about to create. This is the initial little sand that's getting into the shell. That is the kernel from which we are going to create Bitcoin citadels and this new utopic future, this golden age. Now, utopia, it'll have new problems, of course. So there will still be problems in the world. But we're starting to see that the systems design that can lead us to a much better future than the one that produced Pizzagate and Epstein files and the blackmailocracy we've been living in, seeing that melt away, because we are creating a new sovereign stack. And the sovereign stack produces everything you're seeing in the SpaceX city. It's going to produce everything that Trump has been talking about with these freedom cities. And now we have the template for the freedom city right there. So you're seeing here is observing consciousness again, the AI race, semiconductor race, energy race, satellite race, quantum race, and financial restructuring are all converging into one sovereign realignment architecture. So just like we're seeing from the S1 filing, where the sovereign realignment architecture is being templated and specifically shown to everyone, the constituent pieces that create these sovereign entities that can survive the fiat apocalypse. Importantly, the fiat apocalypse probably won't have any effect on these companies at all, and this system and this architecture at all. The US government moving directly into quantum ownership. So that's something that happened yesterday. The US got into the quantum game like they did with Intel. They're getting deeper and deeper embedded into various companies that are part of the sovereign realignment architecture. Here you see that quantum ownership confirms advanced computation is now viewed as core national infrastructure tied to security, intelligence, finance, cyber operations, and the future operating layer of civilization itself. The board is consolidating around whoever controls the next global compute stack. And not only does this sound a lot like a Bitcoin citadel, this sounds a lot like software and the Jason Lowry theory, which you're seeing implemented in real time through the most powerful fiat government ever created as it transitions this moment. So here's the quantum question here. Trump and Min dropped 2 billion US trash tokens and took minority ownership in IBM, Global Foundries, D-Wave, Rigetti, Inflection, Atom Computing, Psi Quantum, and Dirac. And this is what we know. The US government is now direct shareholder in quantum computing. They spent about 2 billion US trash tokens on it. So it's just part of the stack, but interesting news. And here you can see that this sovereignty stack, of course, would not be complete without the Bitcoin component to it. And here you see that while the sovereign, and you have to think of the sovereign wealth fund when you think of these things, right? So this here should make you think of the sovereign wealth fund of the United States, because it's a very similar framework when we're thinking about the sovereign wealth fund that Trump has created. All of this venture capital, all of this quantum stuff, just like the Intel shares, all of that goes into the sovereign wealth fund. So we're talking about a sovereign stack in the case of S1 filing from SpaceX. And we're talking about the sovereign wealth fund, which is part of the sovereign stack. And the sovereign stack at SpaceX, they keep Bitcoin on the balance sheet as part of the sovereign stack at the nation state level. With this template, of course, the Bitcoin strategic reserve would be a major component of the sovereignty stack. And that's why, as the sovereign wealth fund gets going and we see the kind of companies that are going into it, all of it again continues to align with the soft war thesis. And we're getting new updates here from the sovereign wealth fund and the Bitcoin strategic reserve. Here you've got Congressman Begich introducing the American Reserve Modernization Act yesterday with an incredible amount of support already. 16 original co-sponsors. ARMA creates the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve to secure America's Bitcoin for 20 years and explores a range of budget-neutral acquisition strategies. This is a major step forward for a lasting framework for holding Bitcoin for our future generations. Begich has been working hard for months to push this forward. It's time for digital Fort Knox. We're excited to see this move through the legislative process, and we'll keep you all posted with updates. So we're seeing the sovereign stack become very clear, and it involves the sovereign wealth fund. It involves the strategic Bitcoin reserve. It involves the soft war components, right? And that this stuff is all happening on the very day it happens. In 45 minutes, we'll see Kevin Warsh installed as the new Fed Reserve chair. And he's coming in with a mandate to build all of this stuff. He's going to be giving liquidity for the build out for the same stuff you saw in the S1 filing for SpaceX. That's where you're going to see the money deployed for all of this energy build out. That's why the number one political winner for Trump right now is increased energy capacity to come up the middle and dominate this current division around the AI data centers. Just through building. Building is the answer there. They don't argue. There is no winning argument with the data centers. The what's it good for, water, and oh my God, if we lose to China, all that stuff's stupid, right? The only thing that matters is it's going to incentivize way more electricity and bring energy bills down for everyone. And you have to manifest it and do it. You can't just talk about it, because that's the difference. We're going from the world of fiat, which is blah, 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 blah. I work for the government. I come with my credential, blah, 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 blah. Listen, I sent you an email. Why didn't you do it? I said, but I sent you an email. That's not the world of builders. The world of builders are the people that Elon Musk hires, right? These are the people that are real engineers, really building stuff. And Elon's S1 filing is the template for where this is headed. And Warsh coming in today as the chair of the Federal Reserve is a moment in time when we're seeing, really, today is the day where you're seeing this division between the old fiat world and the blah, 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 and the actual builders. And amazingly, Warsh has a test right away, because everyone is saying, oh, but the inflation is going to go up because of the oil. So everyone's trying to get Warsh to do the Keynesian thing. And here's James Thorne talking about it. Let's be honest, he says, Warsh at the Fed. Kevin Warsh's arrival at the Federal Reserve is not a personnel change. It's a regime change attempt inside an institution built to prevent one. A supply-sider now runs a central bank hardwired for Keynesian demand management, and the machine is already resisting the new code. The next mistake is visible in plain sight. Keynesians on Wall Street and inside the Fed are treating a supply shock as if it were a demand boom and calling for tighter money. This is dogma masquerading as seriousness. A choke point in the Strait of Hormuz, a jump in energy prices, and a cost shock rolling through transport, food, and manufacturing are not evidence of overheated demand. They are evidence of a damaged supply side. Monetary policy cannot reopen a shipping lane. It cannot pump more oil. It cannot repeal geopolitics. It can only crush demand somewhere else, usually with a lag, and usually in the most interest rate sensitive corners of the economy first: housing, commercial real estate, capital spending, and durables. Those sectors did not close the strait. They are simply first in line to pay for the strait's Fed's intellectual mistakes. That is the Keynesian reflex in its purest form. Every price spike becomes inflation. Every inflation scare requires a rate move. Every rate move is advertised as proof of resolve. It is nonsense. A change in relative prices caused by a supply shock is not the same thing as an inflationary spiral. Pretending otherwise is how central banks turn an external shock into a domestic recession. Machiavelli explained why change is so hard. The innovator makes enemies of everyone who did well under the old order and wins only lukewarm defenders among those who might benefit from the new. Christensen gave the same warning in corporate language. That is, of course, the innovator's dilemma that you're hearing about here, Clayton Christensen. Incumbent institutions kill disruptive change because their processes, inventions, and prestige are built around the existing model. You know, I was a big fan, even pre-Bitcoin, of, let's call it democratized. I was a big fan of crowdfunding, and that's why I had an interest in ICOs when they were first launched, was because I thought that could solve the innovator's dilemma. We could start new companies without any of the restrictions, and it made sense at the time. It didn't work out that way, but that's why I was all into it. This is the problem Warsh faces. The resistance is not incidental. It is structural. The test for Warsh is not whether he can sound tough on television. It is whether he can resist the Wall Street catchism that every supply shock must be met with tighter money. If he hikes rates into a supply-driven price spike to prove his anti-inflation credentials, he will not have broken with the Keynesian regime. He will have submitted to it. This is not the 1970s. Expectations are not unanchored, and the productive economy is already scared by years of policy excess, fiscal dominance, and institutional bias. The hope is that Warsh understands the difference between inflation and a supply shock, ignores the Keynesian pundits, and refuses to compound one policy error with another. And indeed, that's why we're talking about the stack and sovereignty and what it means. If he goes into the Keynesian world, he goes into that regime, he goes into that infrastructure, he goes into the word thinking and the credentialism. But that's not the world we're in. That's not what is going on. And I don't believe he's going to do that. So I predict right now there's not going to be a rate hike to deal with the stupid Iran oil thing, that you're actually going to see this energy build out happen, because the sovereignty stack that you saw in the SpaceX S1 filing is exactly what America is also building, and that's Warsh's mandate to do it. So, because if you don't have energy, energy is sovereignty now. The sovereignty stack is there. You can see the case of Germany, right? Germany infrastructure attack, Nord Stream was sabotage. We've known this for a long time. Yet the government still refuses transparency and accountability. Remember, we laughed. Putin did Nord Stream, right? Then it was Ukraine. Then obviously it was America. It doesn't matter if the Ukrainians went and bombed it. It was Joe Biden's America who did it. And a government that won't defend its own sovereignty is no longer acting in the interest of its people. The AFD demands a full investigation, prosecution of those responsible, and compensation for Germany. Of course, Germany, think of what they've had to pay. Think of the 4 years of energy misery in Germany and what it's done to their economy. And here Kirill Dmitriev says, when Germany abandoned its sovereignty, it also gave up its energy and economic security. They are the same thing now. Energy is sovereignty. Like I said, from the S1 filing from SpaceX, that is the sovereignty stack in the world of soft war that we've all been thinking about from Jason Lowery for years now. Energy is a major component to this. The lack of sovereignty leads to the destruction through degradation. And this is a sovereign Germany. And you can see Germany is just the case in point for this, right? Just everything you just saw that I just mentioned, from Warsh, productive economy, the sovereignty stack versus the old Fiat world of words and blah, 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 and Keynesianism. And I went to a fancy university and don't you know that I am the chair of the committee, all that kind of stuff, right? This is what Germany's left with. It's left with no economic sovereignty, yet at the same time, they could be doing more Keynesian things. Here yesterday, you've got von der Leyen giving Merkel, not the kind of Merkel we like in Bitcoin, the kind of Merkel that no one knows what she does for anyone. Here she is, Merkel, getting the European Order of Merit. This award honors the achievements of individuals who have made a significant contribution to European integration or to the promotion and defense of European values, right? That's Angela Merkel who's won this. Angela Merkel, right? Angela Merkel. And so she's out there. Look at these chicks, man. Look at this. It's hilarious. Look at these broads. She got her award. Yes, that's like the kids at the school. This was me on the last day of school, getting your math award. This is like the track meets, right? Way to go. Here's your ribbon. Way to go, little kiddo. Are you happy to be graduating from elementary school today? Are you happy to be out of elementary school? Yes, you are. Now go on. You did great, Angela. You're the freedom person. You did great. The Order of Merit. Indeed, here there's the EU has awarded European Order of Merit to Angela Merkel for promotion and defense of European values. Yes, the computer has repeatedly warned that Europe was entering a period of political fragmentation and economic decline by 2028. Capital is fleeing, industry is fleeing, confidence is collapsing. The people running Europe still behave as though public outrage is merely some inconvenience to be managed. Through censorship and propaganda, they still cannot comprehend why nationalist movements continue rising across the continent. People want their sovereignty. You can just see the ridiculousness of it, right? Here's Keir Starmer, another example of it. Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine could receive a £1 billion trash pound boost after Keir Starmer watered down sanctions on Russian oil, but they're still going to fight him. A perfect symbol of what happens when a country is run by human rights lawyers. The rules are applied, however perverse the outcome. We are importing Russian oil while banning British oil. Why? Because Miliband and Greta and something Mimble Wimble, too good, too funny. They're losing. And it's always time, right? If you're worried about your I know we did a lot of looking into. We spent a lot of time earlier today on the thermostat question in Wisconsin. We only covered Wisconsin. Remember, you crazies in Texas, don't plagiarize and copy the Wisconsinites' advice. That was for them. Only the Illinois people I give permission to. You're allowed to listen, right? But luckily, the Europeans, of course, don't have to bother with the conundrum. They don't have to waste their cognition on the famous, what do I set my thermostat for my air conditioner at? Because they just don't have air conditioners. And here we continue to remind you all, as summer comes into view, always remember that more Europeans regularly die in heat waves than Americans die in gun violence. Here is the European heat wave death count. And here's the U.S. gun death count. And here's the U.S. heat death. And don't forget, America's a hell of a lot hotter than Europe. So there you go. The sovereignty stack includes air conditioning, guys. It has to. It has to. So now, remember when I said, everything we saw from that sovereignty stack and the freedom cities and what they mean, what you get out of a freedom city, and what we're seeing with the build out that Texas has already had. And I said, Bitcoiners, as we go forward, are going to be at the heart of building these SpaceX type cities, because the AI data centers are the living engine of these new things. And of course, Bitcoin mining can finance, just like AI can finance, these new engines that can build these new cities. And so I've been saying for a long time that we're going to get new cities to get away from the trash people and the sludge people whose minds they just can't wait to kill themselves because they live under my dictatorship and my Hitler's back. And here's another one. This was one of Scott Adams' favorite predictions. And he started talking about this. This is something that RFK discussed during his campaign. And now the great Spencer Pratt has the same idea. Here he is pitching. He had a great first person who I think has ever come up with a legitimate answer to what we do with the drug addicts, all the druggies. And let me find it for you here. Stephen Miller. So here's a long video by Spencer Pratt yesterday, and I will find the piece in the video. But here he is with an actual plan to tackle homelessness and addiction in the cities, a real one. This is one of the keys of his campaign. Nonprofits pay a lot of people to not solve the problem they claim to be solving. Remember when Mr. Beast went to Africa and built 2 clean water wells, and the NGO nonprofits over there criticized him for it in some white savior complex or something? He instantly solved the problem they claimed they were advocating and working on. If you tackle and dent or even solve rampant homelessness, a lot of people lose their jobs and a lot of funding and donations cease. And that's why there's a sudden flood of negative going his way. They aren't scared of him winning. But they are scared that once people realize problems can be solved, a whole lot of slush funding dries up. The sludge people love the slush funding. But part of his solution here is very similar to the Bitcoin Citadel, SpaceX City, new city, separate sludge people from productive people argument. And here, he's got a lot of good ideas here. He's talking about, not giving them drugs anymore. All that's really important. Talking about how to get addicts away. A lot of really great ideas. Break the cycle. This video, I would say, is excellent to anyone who wants to watch the whole thing. 9 minutes. He talks about basically forcing them. There's some kind of drug you can force them to take that attaches to opioid receptors, and opioids won't work on them anymore. So he says, go, basically whack them with that. So severe drug users will be labeled as severely handicapped, and the whole psychiatric stuff will change. That's a part of it. Stop body brokers. That's a part of it. He's got all these plans, but I want to get to the important one that I wanted to mention. We don't want the body brokers, right? We don't like that. NGOs, bring in the DEA, that's part of it. This is what I wanted to talk about. Tell me if the audio comes through.
Sheriff in town. Step 5, a modern treatment facility. I've already made plans with several high-profile developers who want to donate resources to build a large, modern, and safe campus where we can administer rehab outside of our residential neighborhoods. Places with children and schools and businesses like San Pedro cannot be expected to bear the burden of hosting drug rehab facilities. In these clinics, we will rapid build modular, low-cost housing, exercise facilities, and we will not only provide drug rehab, but civil rehab. Addicts will be given job training. They will provide community service, cleaning up trash, cutting fire breaks. They will serve the communities they transgressed upon, and they will be set up for success to reintegrate into society with job skills and a sense of purpose and accomplishment. Many of the addicts on Skid Row are able-bodied people, fully capable of working and earning a living. The only thing blocking them is the drugs. We don't have a housing problem, we have a drug problem. We cannot solve a drug problem with more overpriced housing scams. Some of these folks do need to go to prison. The violent offenders, animal abusers, and sex offenders will do time, but many of them simply need to be given a chance to recover. But they only have a chance if we confront their addiction, not just dump them in an apartment and give them a box of needles.
3 men in their 40s that were found unresponsive at this apartment building in downtown LA, Spring and 7th Street. We now know LAPD confirming that they died due to a possible fentanyl overdose. One of the officers that were responding to the scene was exposed to the fentanyl. He was transported in an ambulance to a local hospital.
I'm the only candidate with a real plan. I'm the only candidate who actually cares about these poor souls dying on our streets. If you care about someone, you don't let them degrade themselves in public. You grab them by the hand and you pull them away from the darkness. We don't have to live like this, and when I'm mayor, we won't.
I mean, it's just the greatest campaign you'll ever see. There's nothing has ever been done like this. And that he's already on to the poor towns is what Scott Adams used to call them. And, there isn't even like some people just want to take drugs and camp out. I believe that will be possible in these poor towns as well. But there will be opportunities to rehabilitate. I've known this was the problem. I lived in Ottawa when I worked in Parliament. And one of the main problems with Ottawa is they put so much of this effort into free drugs and give people drugs and give them a house. They put them all together right in the party area of the city. And I had a condo there, and every night you'd hear the whole thing, the fire trucks, the ambulances, the cops, another overdose, another fight, another this. They're all downtown. Of course, they're partying. They're in the, not even just downtown, not in like the boring commercial downtown with skyscrapers. All of the shelters, they got a native shelter, they got a woman's shelter, they got a gay shelter, they're all in the same 2 or 3 streets. It's a party. It's a constant, perpetual, nonstop party. It never ends. And the only time it ends is the only time you get peace and quiet is when it's super cold. Other than that, it's just every night party, mayhem, craziness. And so right away I said, why the hell are they here? Get them. We got nothing but country. You go 5 miles in any direction in Ottawa and you're in the super country. So they built Ottawa because it was so far and remote. They believed Queen Victoria thought the Americans couldn't find it because it's not on the border for that reason. It's hidden up in the hinterland so that Canada couldn't be invaded by America because there was no way to get there because they'll never be able to find it. And so that's why it's not one of the cities along the river, or it's on the Ottawa River, but it's not on the St. Lawrence and it's not on the Great Lakes, which were all susceptible to American naval invasions. So Queen Victoria literally picked Ottawa as the capital because it was so far flung, so in the middle of nowhere, so hillbilly that it wasn't a risk as a military target. It would be too complicated for the Americans to come. So that's why Ottawa is the capital. That's the only reason why Ottawa is the capital. And so as the capital, any direction you go, and there's no mega, it's not like Washington, D.C. There isn't a Baltimore 2 seconds away. There isn't a Richmond, Virginia, a couple miles down the road. There is no Camden. There is no New Jersey, Trenton. It's one big city from Washington, D.C. in every direction. You got Delaware. You got all these places. Getting out of Washington, D.C. takes hours. And then you're just in some other city. And Virginia's full of people up there. Alexandria, all these places. It goes on and on and on. Washington, D.C. is a much bigger city than Ottawa. Ottawa is like 1 million people. And once the city's over, it's over. There's nothing left. It's just farmland or mountains or hills or rivers and lakes and all that shit. And so I always said, why don't you just go camping, man? Get them out of here. Get this. Just they got to hitchhike back to town or something if they wanted the drugs and the partying. But get them out. And so that was obvious to me, 20 years ago. It was 20 years ago I lived in that part of town. And it's a dump to this day. And it's gotten worse. I don't even think it's a party area anymore because of the scum and sludge that's there. So Pratt doing this, and this is something that you heard from RFK this was sort of like the height of the RFK campaign for me anyway, was when he was talking about building these farm towns. So Pratt is going to have a major ally in Maha and Kennedy if he moves forward with this stuff. And, Kennedy also lives in LA, don't forget, right? RFK is also in LA. I mean, not officially. Officially, I think he has to be from New York because of corruption, and they wouldn't let him vote here and there. And he had all kinds of trouble and where he was on the ballot and this and that as president. But I think with his wife from Hollywood, I think they have a place in California. I've seen him anyway. I think on Thanksgiving, he made his turkey or something, and he was in California. So I think he's there a lot. You see pictures of him a lot. But here is Jay Plemons talking the poor towns. Remember, this is Jay Plemons, who was the clipper of Scott Adams. And again, this was one of Scott Adams' major ideas that he was always, this was one of the things Scott, because of course Scott had a son who died of fentanyl, and he was aware there is no such thing as rehab. Like, that doesn't exist. And so there's a thing you can pay for that they call rehab, but it doesn't work, and it's not a service that is they could just check themselves out. There's the consent and all that stuff. So that's why he wished something like this existed for his own son, that he could send him to some kind of a farm, some kind of a rural area. And so here's Jay Plemons talking about the privately funded rehabilitation campus in nature. And nature is the important part, right? In nature. And get them out of there. Just get them away, right? It's not so much the cost of prisons or the cost of rehabilitation. It's the savings of having them away from us. That's the important thing. It's the savings of having these unfortunate sludge people away from us so that we can be productive and it's a hard reality, but we are, sort of separating into two separate groups because there's no choice. I mean, here's another example. Here's Spencer Pratt, predicting, again, the importance of predicting. Here he is one day before Path Worker was federally arrested in LA on fentanyl distribution charges. Mayoral candidate Spencer Pratt told me on a one-on-one view, the same people giving out needles are also giving out drugs. So this is the same day, right? Pratt also claimed arrests are coming. And indeed, they did arrest a Path Worker who was fully giving out drugs and was working as a drug dealer. The day I released this video detailing how Karen Bass and Raymond are paying unscrupulous NGOs to increase drug use and hand out needles, one of these NGOs on Karen's payroll gets busted for distributing fentanyl. Karen Bass is destroying LA with your money. Vote now. Here's the story from Pratt.
Currently, Mayor Bass and Nithya Raman are increasing the rampant drug use by using your tax dollars to hand out fentanyl needles, tourniquets, and crack pipes to addicts throughout the city.
Actually, the city paying for people to drive around, hand out needles and pipes and other things to use drugs.
By doing this, they are killing 6 to 7 people every day.
So exactly, it's absolutely wild that this stuff is still going on. And here you can see what's going to happen, though. We've already got it. Democrat moms for Pratt. That's how you can measure the effectiveness. You've even got the Maha cohort is in play, and they're coming for Pratt. And I think he's going to win, guys. I really do. You can tell here's the news trying to give him a hard time, right? Here's Time Magazine now. They have this headline today. I got two funny headlines from Time Magazine. I could have used these in NPC News, but they're so effective here that I had to put them in the normal news. Here's Time Magazine. The reality star mayor's bid is running on outrage, celebrity, and AI slop, and might just seal Karen Bass's re-election. The prediction from Time Magazine is that Spencer Pratt is doing so well in the campaign that it might just lead to Karen Bass being reelected. So you're dealing with mega sludge people. This is another headline from Time. So Time here is predicting that because Spencer Pratt is doing so great, because his campaign is so amazing and it's all anyone's talking about, that of course it's going to lead to Karen Bass winning. Right. So this is Time Magazine today. This is also Time Magazine today, talking about another election across the other side of the country. Right. So this is how they treated Pratt today. Here's how, that's in California. Come all the way to Maine. This is their cover in the very article where they're talking about Spencer Pratt and his hate-filled campaign. Time's new cover. Even in this anti-establishment political moment, Graham Plattner's rise has been remarkable. His candidacy is forcing the party to come to terms with what it's willing to risk in exchange for a fighter, right? Yes. He's a party crasher, right? It's just that little neo-Nazi, not even neo-Nazi, straight up Nazi, pardon me, the straight up guards at Auschwitz tattoo that he got on his heart. They have to force some, to come to terms with it. So this is Time Magazine on the same day. So Donald Trump was Hitler and all of us are Nazis for a rally at Madison Square Garden, but the far left candidate with a Nazi tattoo is celebrated. Yes, Spencer Pratt is going to lose, guys. He's going to lose. And there's other funny news about Plattner as well. Apparently, he likes to talk about jerking off all the time. And he can't go out in public without jerking off, apparently. And here we find out if candidate with Graham Plattner's online history was the Republican nominee for a Senate election, Jimmy Kimmel would be making masturbating Nazi jokes every single night. The current season of SNL would have featured him in 5 cold opens. Indeed, Maine voters are openly demanding that Plattner drops out of the race after multiple posts came to light of him bragging about masturbating in public. He's perfect. He is absolutely perfect. And that's why, all of this Plattner, right? Plattner versus Pratt, 2 sides of the country, 2 election campaigns, 2 proofs of just how corrupted the media is. But indeed, if he wins, I think you're going to see a incredible change here. American Debunk predicting if everything will change when he wins. Smart people with status who aren't in politics are going to get into politics in free liberal cities all over America. I'm going to save that one too to talk about for Canada later, because that is relevant for Canada. So there you go. We got big change coming. And again, the predictions here of what kind of change is coming, this is what I think is happening. I think June 2nd, you're going to have another one of these instances of complete and total fourth turning like change coming to America. And it's going to usher in what I've been saying. It's not only do we have the Epstein files coming this summer, we're going to continue to have the season of accountability as it plays through the system, especially after we see the corruption in Los Angeles completely exposed. Because again, it goes back to my story that I said, again, why predictions are important. What I said at the beginning of 2026, that my 2026 outlook was the fraud stories and the audits were going to just dominate the whole year, and that there'd always be a great story about it. And speaking of Freedom Cities and RFK Jr. and potential mega allies for Spencer Pratt, here was RFK now getting involved in the fraud investigations. Let's see if the audio works. This will be 2 for 2, I think. Let's see if it can happen. Autism. They ripped up autists. So there he is. You've got this is all in Minnesota. All these cases in Minnesota. You've got another video here of Kennedy just showing you how bad it is. Demonstrates the staggering impact of the fraud that is being uncovered in Minnesota. So both times you've got the heavy hitter, no sound. God damn it. Well, it was Kennedy anyway. We didn't go that long. We'll skip Kennedy's voice. As much as I love Kennedy, we don't need to listen to him talk all the time. Here's JD Vance saying much the same. I will stop sharing and reshare so that we can make sure we have the audio. We did pretty good yesterday, guys. 6 in a row was great. We can't always expect to do that well. Here is JD Vance with the same message. Today, the task force and the DOJ announced a massive takedown of 2 of the largest Medicaid fraud cases in Minnesota state history, as well as the largest autism fraud scheme ever charged by the federal government. Our message is simple. If you're committing fraud, we will find you, and we won't rest until the justice is served. So, like I said, you're going to keep seeing these cases. You're going to keep seeing the result of this. Here's another example of predictions gone wrong. Here's Ilhan Omar back in April saying, please investigate all you want. She asked nicely. Good for her. She is also under federal fraud investigation. And so Ilhan Omar, I didn't think this would happen, but it looks like they are going to get her. We'll see how it all goes. But there you go. And let's not forget that when the Minnesota fraud stuff happened, because it is, this is the person who's being federally charged, right? The one that he came out and identified. And it's the same one, of course, that CNN came out. And remember when they called up the fraud person, right? Here's CNN's coverage. There's no fraud going on whatsoever, said Ibrahim Ali, who identified himself as a manager and son of the owners of the Quality Leering Center. He said Shirley's video has taken before the business had opened for the day, right? Remember when CNN came out and said, we called them. They said no fraud. Duh. Shirley's out there spreading lies. So again, you're seeing the limits of persuasion in the media. There's just no capacity for them to do that. And again, why predictions are so important. Here's an example. This whole tone of what's going on. Fugitive Caesar reminds us, it's worth noting that the Trump administration's best rhetoric comes from ideas and phrases invented, or popularized by Frog Twitter over the past decade. And of course, here he's talking about the world of Pepe. And here you've got the fella yesterday at the fraud announcement talking about a high trust society. What do we know about high trust societies in Bitcoin? Everything, of course. We talk about this stuff all the time. That's why we talk about Bitcoin citadels and rebuilding high trust societies. Indeed, here, this is another Bitcoin worldview coming into reality. And it's important, right? It's important. These predictions are important. And you make these predictions, right? Bitcoiners have been telling you for years, this is the thing you have to solve, the formula for a high trust society. I've got another one here because predictions are important, right? Predictions are important. And I'll stop sharing and then I'll reshare because we got a great prediction here. We got a great prediction, everyone. I need to share this prediction with you. It's really important. Here we've got Candace Owens with a prediction. You want to hear a prediction? Here it is.
I mean, it's at least close.
They think their money can buy whatever they want, anything and everything. Their money can cover up murders and rapes. I can tell you guys this, though. I've been around. I've just seen these cycles in politics, the way Trump is speaking. I am MAGA. I'm a king. I know what we're looking at. It's a not so unique moment when Icarus flies a little too close to the sun. And I know what happens after that.
She
So
does.
just relax.
She knows what
Wait,
happens.
Get ready.
Get ready.
Let's wait for midterms. Let's
Wait
see
for the midterms.
what the king of MAGA can buy with his money.
Not really sure what her point was at the end because nobody has won more than Trump.
So she says Trump's going to lose the midterms. She says it, right? And she interviewed Hunter Biden yesterday. Softball interview. She didn't do great. I like Hunter. I'll be honest with you guys. Criminal, all that stuff. Sure. I find him engaging. I really do. Don't want to like the guy. I wouldn't trust him with anything. He's a drug addict, of course. So I'm not going to trust him. But, he's got a charm, doesn't he? And, criminal family and all that stuff. But I think she wasted a big opportunity. It was a very boring interview. I tried to watch it, didn't get anywhere. She didn't really ask any questions, right? He went with the Epstein files. If you want to figure out why Trump won't release the Epstein files, just look at his inauguration and, protecting his donors, right? But no follow-up. Why didn't you guys do any Epstein files stuff, right? Why was it all hidden under Democrats? So Candace probably could have made this more entertaining at least, because normally I think of her stuff as entertaining, like the, becoming Brigitte. As I told you at the time, very entertaining, right? Very entertaining. This, not so much, not so entertaining. So legacy media couldn't have done a worse job than what we got from Candace yesterday with this, really great chance. Spencer Pratt would have made that interview interesting. Even Graham Plattner would have made that interview interesting. That would have been a good one. Could have got a lot out of him. What else am I going to do here? We're running out of time, but here, not only is she making that prediction, here's another great one. She's making the same prediction as Jon Stewart. This is the last ever Colbert episode, or one of the last. And he says here, the day the electorate of this great nation we call home repudiates this putrid administration, the day that happens, there will be a joyful noise from the bowels of this great country that will make Hungary's repudiation of Orban. What? The thing in Europe? What? Hungary? Okay. Okay. So while that's all going on, while you got those predictions, of course, I had Bill Gates stuff I wanted to talk about, but I'm not going to do that. I was trying to tie it to Bill Gates today. Not going to do that. Accountability, important. A lot of accountability going on. Well, I'll give you a little bit of the accountability stuff quickly. Because as they're all predicting Trump's going to lose, and I told you at the beginning, just as you heard from Alex Jones, you're about to hear more about all of this Pizzagate, Epstein stuff, all of those questions. You are starting to see more of the accountability. Election 2020 stuff, of course, we've been covering that all week. That's happening. Here's Tim Burchett yesterday on Joe Rogan talking about the ticks and Bill Gates. That was the Bill Gates story I wanted to get to. They speculate that Bill Gates is involved in all of this to push his artificial meat. Bill Gates won't survive this, guys. He's not going to survive this. The end is coming quickly for him. Here's Mike Davis underlining justice is coming for lawfare Democrats. So season of accountability coming very quickly. These are all the folks. This is the stuff that's happening right now. You've got subpoenas, grand jury, Florida, Georgia, Brennan, all these people. Another sign of how much the Fiat sludge people are losing. Hans Monkey here saying the total media blackout. This is what we covered at the beginning of the week. The CIA whistleblower that we covered live testifying that Fauci covered up the origins of COVID is almost unbelievable, even by their usual standards. This is a current CIA employee who not only provided a detailed account, but did so openly under his own name, not hiding behind anonymity like Carmela, and yet they pretend it never happened. Meanwhile, anything that pushes the narrative in the other direction gets highlighted right away. And as Curtis Yarvin says here, Lenin said, power is like a bayonet. Keep pushing till it stops, then pull and stab again. When you get this cone of silence response, the bayonet is sliding in. They have no way to resist. Pull all your muscle into the stroke. And I had the pleasure of hanging out with Curtis Yarvin for an entire evening with him and Bitstein and Real PDB and Mike Cernovich and a couple others when I was in Las Vegas. It was a great time. Loved hanging out with them. You know who else I love hanging out with? Not just those guys. I also love hanging out with Hank. How you doing, Hank?
Your leader. I'm here. There are aliens amongst us. I'm excited. Maybe, yeah, that's what they're saying right over Lake Huron. They blew up a UAP. You see the footage just got released. We got breaking news about it on Roxham this morning. The team's already going through the footage. It is crazy. They have an actual footage of them shooting down a UAP. It's crazy.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
So, you know,
did they find a Nazi or did they find an alien?
Well, we haven't gotten that yet. They blew that thing to smithereens. You can see it just disintegrate.
We had the Washington Post today make a. They were trying to criticize JD Vance for saying that Americans did all of our space program, and that we don't need immigrants. And they said, "Duh, you're wrong, JD. America needs immigrants. Don't forget all of the people that came over from Operation Paperclip." Boom, we had plenty of Nazis come to America. It wasn't just Americans.
Okay. Yeah.
They're defending having Nazis come to the country like it it proved their point, right? America does need immigrants.
Complaining about it.
Check out Werner von Braun.
Werner von Braun. Is that what you guys have been chatting about this morning? Is that what's been on the
no,
docket?
a little bit. Yeah, we did a little bit on the. We're talking about predictions again, the importance of predictions, why they're so useful. Let me get my actual, because I usually take them off because they take up CPU. We did pizza day.
What a horrible day that must be for that poor guy. Every day to be reminded of the billions of dollars he would have.
Dude, it's I can't I have
still walking.
I have to I've got a special prayer that I have to say to do some of my Bitcoin regrets. Just to get it out of my head, right? Because I mean, I spent a full Bitcoin one day feeding water from a water plant, like a water, like someone's flowers, feeding flowers.
Yeah.
Like you could just give it 0.05 Bitcoin, and it was like making the whole internet like a vending machine. So it would just pour the water in the guy's backyard with a camera. And I mean, we were pushing each other out of the way to hit the button and spend 0.05 Bitcoin. You know what I mean? We were like, my turn.
Oh, they said that free game. It was just like click the button and you get 5 Bitcoin. Like,
those were the days.
The regrets I have. Why did I stop mining? Why, Nolan? Why?
We all have them. That's what I mean. We have to have a special prayer. But this guy, Laszlo.
Brutal. I mean, I've had some good pizza in my day. It couldn't have been that good. Was it 14,000 or something?
It's 10,000.
10,000 still. That's just brutal. But yeah, no, we got exciting news today. I mean, the Warsh, we got the Warsh. We're going to be going live with that in just a bit. But we will be starting with the breaking news. They just released this
I'm
new
gonna go check
treasure
it out.
trove of footage, so we'll be checking that out. Cool. Well, I'll let you wrap up with your gang here. Everybody stay tuned. Rock some TV news. We're going to be breaking the UAP story. We got right. I mean, really just came out. So we're going to be one of the first people that are really digging into the files. So Nolan, I'll see you next week.
I can't wait, man. I'll be taking the relay from you today too to do some Canada action at the end of your show. So I'll be back live later.
Canada. Yeah. The next week next Friday, we got Scaramucci after your show. So exciting.
Oh, great. Well, yeah, I will not be doing my Friday show next week. I've got
you won't?
Well, I won't be doing Memorial Day. Are you doing a Memorial Day show Monday?
Probably. I don't think I adhere to
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going to do Monday or Friday afternoon. I'll do the Friday morning, but not the Friday afternoon. We got a bit of holiday business next week.
All right. Well, enjoy your weekend, Nolan. Everybody, stay tuned. We'll be back. See you soon. See you, Nolan.
There you go, everybody. All right, folks. We're going to be cutting loose soon. Let me just do one more share of this totally real footage. Chinese weather balloon. Let's see if this works again. Pop out chat, and then I'm going to share the screen, and we'll see how this works. Look at that, guys. Not bad, not bad. Nolan with a Hall of Fame audio average this week. Thanks for the great news shows. Peace indeed. 100% chef. The amount of sludge the general public consumes is unreal. It can't go on much longer, but who knows? It's crazy. Time magazine is so irrelevant, and this stupid tweet proves that point. It sure is. My goodness, the map of LA has been gerrymandered. Yeah, I think he might be able to win so much that it won't matter. We're hoping anyway. Sludge Factory. It was obvious in 1985 that Germany was going off the cliff. That's why it bailed out. I didn't think it was obvious in 95, honestly. I really didn't. I remember 20-something years ago thinking Germany was just paradise. Other than the rudeness. I hate the rudeness in Germany, but other than that. All right, folks, I'm about to play the logo and the thanks for watching screen. I just want to say to you guys, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. Catch me at 1 o'clock Eastern time, and we're going to be talking about the Bass is going to win by 40%. Maybe. So we'll see each other later today if you come. But indeed, everyone, have a great Memorial Day. Not that I'm MAGA or anything, as Bitcoin Jesus here has reminded us. Not that I'm MAGA or anything. But see you all on Monday. No, not Monday. No show Monday. See you all on Tuesday. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Thanks for watching. Peace out, everyone.